Hey everybody, welcome to video number 3 of the right triangle review test, whatever. The review for the right triangle test, how's that? This is video number 3. So in the first video, we have actually just the first 4 problems being solved from the review worksheet that I posted. And then second video covers 5 through 10 of the worksheet that I posted. So now we're going to do the second page of the worksheet. So right triangle review, number 11. If you look here, let me switch this to document camera only. There we go. So it's easier to see. If you notice, there's no angle here. We only have the right angle. That's important to know because this is a right triangle test. So we have the right angle, we have 2 of the 3 sides, and we need the third side. This is a little bit different than the special right triangles where you know that one of the angles is 30 or 60 or 45. So this one, we can't guess that the acute angles are going to be anything. So all we have to do, well, since we know information about 2 of the 3 sides, we do Pythagorean theorem. So Pythagorean theorem, in my video for Pythagorean theorem, that's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. The only important thing there is really c squared. C squared is always the hypotenuse, the biggest side. So the right angle always points to what your c is going to be. And then the other 2 sides are interchangeable. Because addition is interchangeable, then the other 2 sides can go in either a or b spot. So solving number 11 here, the right angle points to the c. So this is my c. It's going to be x. I'm not going to use the variable c. I'm going to use the variable x. My a and b are going to be 6 and 2, and it doesn't matter the order. So I could say 6 squared plus 2 squared, or I could say 2 squared plus 6 squared. It doesn't matter. You get the same answer. Okay, so 6 squared plus 2 squared equals x squared. So, because the side is x. That's our c side. It's the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is always the c. Always goes in the c spot by itself. Everything is squared. Order of operations says to do the squares first. 6 squared, 36 plus 4 equals x squared. Okay, 36 plus 4 is 40. Okay, equals x squared. And then we have to square root both sides. And when we square root both sides, I'm going to write x first. That makes the x just x. And as for 40, we kind of need to see it's not a perfect square. If we did it on a calculator, if I did my square roots of 40, I get a decimal, which means it's not a perfect square. I have to break out. We break out twins. So can I do it? I'll do it over here. 40 is 4 times 10. Easy one, right? 4 is 2 times 2. Now I use the 4. I don't want to use it again. 10 is 2 times 5. Now even though there's 3 2's, it's only twins that break out, not triplets. So I have twins there. The 2 and the 5 that are both left behind, we put them back together. So remember, splitting them up was factoring, is called unmultiplying. So when we put them back together, we are going to re-multiply them together. 2 times 5 is 10. So x is 2 radical 10. That's simplified radical form. Okay. Number 12. So when we do number 12, we have to identify our c first. So the right angle points to our hypotenuse, and our hypotenuse is our c. In this case, it's going to be 26. So we're going to have equals 26 squared. The other 2 sides, it doesn't matter which is which. So 13 squared plus x squared. So 13 squared is 169 plus x squared equals, and we need to figure out what 26 squared is. So 26 times 26, 676. We need to solve for x squared. So in order to solve for x squared, we need to move the 169 over there. It's positive here, so we need to subtract it to the other side. So x squared equals, so I take my 676 and subtract 169, which is 507. Okay, 507. If I square rooted that, I get a decimal. So it's not a perfect square. So I need to break out. So 507. Alright, so that's kind of a weird number. It's not an even number. 2 doesn't go into it. So basically we just check odd numbers to see if odd numbers go into it. So if I have 507, I'm going to try 3. And if that doesn't work, I can try, well, obviously 5 won't work. So I could try 7. And if that doesn't work, I could try 11. And if that doesn't work, I can try 13, etc. So you got to try some numbers and make sure it doesn't work before you give up on it. So 507 divided by, let's try 3. I get 169. Okay. So divided by 3 is 169. And 169, that's the number I just had. If I divide that by 13, I get 13. So that's 13 times 13. Which means I have twins. Twins break out. So I get x equals 13. And then this 3 that did not have a twin is left behind. So, number 13, notice another problem where there's no degree in the acute angle. So we know the 90 degree points to the hypotenuse, but we're not going to use our special right triangle rules. We're going to use our Pythagorean theorem. So this is our C. So I like to put that first, equals 10 squared. The other two, x squared plus 7 squared. Squaring everything. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to subtract 49 to get it moving to the other side. So x squared equals 51. I don't know why I wrote 59, so I was thinking about 49. So 51. And then I square roots. Now 51 well, it's an odd number, so 2 is not going to go into it. So I'm going to try 3, and that's 17. So that is 3 and 17. And since 17 is prime, that's not going to break down. There are no twins. So that means x equals radical 51. That is going to be your answer. Sometimes the radical stays radical. If it can simplify, you do need to simplify. Okay, the next set of problems, it says, do the 3 lengths represent a triangle? If so, classify the triangles acute, obtuse, or right. Justify your answer. Okay, so back to the notes that I did on this. So to determine if 3 numbers make a triangle, first you have to take A and B, because remember C is always the biggest side. C is always the longest side. So we take the 2 smaller numbers and add them, and they have to be bigger than the 3rd number. That's to figure out if it's a triangle. Then we figure out what kind of triangle it is, if it is a triangle. These ones are a little bit backwards because we're going to do C squared first, and then the A and B squared. Okay, and then the symbol there, less than symbol, that means Pac-Man doesn't want to eat the C squared, which is acute, a smaller type of angle. And if it's equal on both sides, that's right. And if C squared is bigger, so Pac-Man would want to eat the C squared, that's called greater than. That's greater, so it's the bigger type of angle, which is obtuse. So another thing you want to make sure you have, the Pythagorean theorem, and this on some notes written down so you have it ready for your test. So this is C, That's the important one, right? C is the important one. The other two are interchangeable. A, B, and C. So first I figure out if it is a triangle. So I take 15 plus 24. That is 39. And is 39 greater than 32? Yes, it is. So it is a triangle. Or yes. Since we know it is a triangle, we need to find out what kind. So, using the formula, we do our c squareds first. So, we're going to have 32 squared first. I'm going to leave a blank here. I don't know what symbol goes there. And then I have 15 squared plus 24 squared. So calculator definitely comes in handy. Another thing you want to make sure you have for that test. 32 times 32 equals... I know that 15 squared is 225 and 24 squared. So we have to add those two together. $801. So I get 1024 and 801. So you just figure out where Pac-Man's going to eat. Pac-Man wants to eat the most dots there are, right? So if there's 1024 dots, Pac-Man wants to eat that, not the 801. So since 1024 is bigger, then it's the bigger type of angle, which is obtuse. Obtuse triangle. Okay, so for number 15, we start off the same way, label our A, B, and C. C is the biggest number, so A and B are the other two. We have to figure out if the smaller two add up to bigger than the big one. So 5 plus 6 equals 11. Is that greater than 11? It is not. 11 is not bigger than 11. 11 is equal to 11. It's not bigger. So then it's not a triangle. And since it's not a triangle, we can't determine if it's an acute, right, or obtuse triangle because it has to be a triangle to be one of those. Okay. Since 5 is bigger, it's just the radicals. If there was a number in front, that might change things, but it's just the number in the radical, so I know that 5 is bigger. So these are A and B. Let me switch colors here. So, we could just check this with the calculator. Radical 2 plus radical 3 is 3.146. Okay, 3.146. Here, let's do this. I'll say 3.15. Is that greater than 5? Radical 5. So let's do radical 5. 2.24. Greater than. Okay. So 3.15 is greater than 2.24. So that's yes. It is a triangle. Okay. Then we set it up. We do our c squared first. Leave a blank. Okay. The square root of 5 squared. Well, 5 squared is 25, and the square root of 25 is 5. Remember, the square gets rid of the radical. So that means this is 2. And this one is 3, because the square gets rid of the radical. So 5, and 2 plus 3 is 5, so what goes between those is an equal sign. So, equal sign. If what goes between those is an equal sign, then it's right. So, right triangle. Okay, number 17. Okay, C is the biggest number. A and B are the other two. Let's see, 8 plus 12 equals 20. Is that greater than 14? Yes, it is. So, yes, it is a triangle. Set it up. C goes first. You want to make sure to leave that blank. 14 squared is 196. There's 64 here. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so 14 squared is 196, 8 squared is 64, 12 squared is 144. So we have to do a little bit of adding here. 64 plus 144, that's 208. So 196 over here, 208 over there. The symbol that goes between it, well, Pac-Man wants 208 dots. That's better than 196 dots. So it goes that way. And since it goes that way, 196 is smaller. So the smaller type of angle is acute. So we write acute triangle. Okay, last problem. So let me adjust here. Find the side length of an equilateral triangle with an altitude length of 15. So you have to draw what you know. It says an equilateral triangle. So draw an equilateral triangle. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay? Equilateral triangle means all three sides are equal. In fact, we need to find the side length of all three sides. So I'll just call them all x. Okay. It says an altitude. An altitude goes from the point perpendicular to the side. So we should have a right angle right there. That's called an altitude. Okay. It says the altitude has a length of 15 feet. So I'll just put 15 for right now. Okay, we'll deal with feet later. So one thing to know about an equilateral triangle, if you remember, 3 angles in a triangle add to 180. So if they're split up 3 equal ways, because there's 3 equal sides, then each angle is 60. This angle would be 60, and this whole thing would be 60. And since this whole thing would be 60 when we split it up, each part is 30. So it is a 30, 60, 90 triangle. You kind of cover it up. Let me get my 30, 60, 90 triangle rules out. But what I do is I ignore the other half. Okay? So I have this right triangle here. That's a 30, 60, 90 triangle. 30 is opposite the short side. This x is on the hypotenuse. And that means the altitude is considered the long side. Okay? And so I use my formulas. My number, 15, is on the long side. So that means I want to start with the formula that has the word long. Long equals short times radical 3. Long is 15 equals short, I'm just going to call it SH, because it's not X. X is the whole side, and short is not the whole side. Short is from there to there. Okay, so I'm just going to call it SH for short. Times radical 3. Well, of course, we can't multiply a variable with a radical. We need to get the variable alone. So we divide. The opposite of multiply is divide. Okay, so our short leg, again, this is not x, not x. X is the hypotenuse. This is the short leg. Okay, so our short leg equals 15 over radical 3. But if you have a radical in the denominator, remember to move it upstairs and write it whole downstairs. Then we can reduce. 3 goes into itself once, and 15 5 times. So we get 5 radical 3. And that's the short leg. 5 radical 3 right there on the short leg. But that's not my answer. That's not x. Because remember, that was not our variable. Our variable is at sh. X is the hypotenuse. So we have to use the hypotenuse formula. Hypotenuse equals short leg times 2. Okay, so our hypotenuse, I called it x. X equals short leg. Now, I called it sh, but now I know that it's 5 radical 3. So I'm going to use the 5 radical 3. Times 2. And this is a whole number, so it multiplies with the whole number. So x equals 10 radical 3. This would be, well, feet. So this would be your official answer. And I put feet because it says the altitude was 15 feet. Okay, so that is it for your test review. These videos, 3 videos, remember this is number 3, will be posted along with a blank version of this. And you can make your notes however you need to. Just remember, it's a time test. You won't have time to go back and review all the videos during the test. You want to have all your notes and information written down before you take the test. Okay, so I will see you later.